everybody, welcome to another segment of Tony's show, and today I'm going to be on some multiple topics as per usual. I'm not sure what's going on with my mic. This makes it better. I'm testing something here. Okay, looks better. This thing's probably muffling my thing too much. Someone was complaining that my voice was too low or something, and I got this thing up. Maybe my Audacity control went down a little bit. Let me raise it up. Okay, hopefully this will come loud and clear. I think maybe a little bit too loud and clear. All right, hold on. Let me put my little doohickey back on. Sorry about that. It's just that I've had people complain that they can't hear me. I hope this sounds better. Okay, on with the show. I don't know where to begin today. I have had so many things. I had a consultation with a millennial yesterday. Yes, I talk to millennials. And some of them do impress me. I got to tell you, some really impressed me. Some shocked me. Yesterday, I was shocked. But something came out of that conversation for me that I never fully grasped until I had this consultation with this young man. And he made a comment to me, and I knew this, but I never really focused on until he said what he said. He was saying that because he had grown up in the system that he had, that he doesn't know any other option except the system. So it dawned on me that the millennials are dumb. They are dumb as a bag of rocks. And I said to him, it's not your fault that you're this dumb. It's just the way the system has programmed you. But the system is programmed to become so reliant on the system. Millennials, I'm going to give you a word of advice. Go on the YouTube channels and start learning about self-preservation, survival skills, homesteading skills, bushcraft. These are things you need to learn. Put that frickin' phone down. That phone is going to scream at you, pick me up, oh please, we're connected, oh please pick me up. Leave that effing phone alone. Go and do some research so that you can be prepared to what's coming down the pipe. Because tonight I'm going to talk stuff. This guy I talked to yesterday felt almost despondent, to a point that he didn't see a whole lot of light. And I said to him, he asked me what I would do, and I said I told him what I was going to do. He said, how long do you think you can do that? I said, until I die. This is the thing you millennials have to remember. If you look at this and think you can't do it, it's overwhelming, you're foobarred, guess what? You lost. You lost the battle already. I made a comment to him yesterday. It was a crude comment, very salt of the earth, sort of a manly kind of comment, or I should say not manly, but brutal. And I asked him if he liked it up the ass or if he wanted it in his mouth. And he said neither, which is a good sign. That's a really good sign, actually. It shows me he still has some fight. And I know this sounds crude to some of you, and I don't apologize. See, I had a friend of mine from Poland. I got a lot of good friends from all over Europe, and the Polish, they're something else. The Poles are like the Mediterraneans. The Baltic people in the Mediterranean, we're exactly like. We're straight to the punch. We don't F around. We don't mince words. Something's got to be said is said. Anyway, the guy in Poland told me that there was a commentator saying that 30 years ago, the Polish people would have fought somebody if they came near their backside. Today, they got so used to it being in their arse that they think it's normal. And I'm saying this, again, not to be crude or craspy, but I'm saying this because that's the way it is. If you've gotten to the point where you're this complicit and this complacent and are not willing to get a little uncomfortable, guess what? You are foobarred. Foobarred. And if you don't know what that means, go talk to somebody from the military. They'll describe it to you in very detail what foobar means. Or talk to a truck driver. When we're looking at the situation that we're in between a hard place and a rock. Now, I just listened to David Icke, and he did a synopsis on how we got to where we are at today, and it dawned on me It dawned on me. I couldn't figure out why America. You see, the American system I really despise. I think the American system is full of shit on so many levels. It has lied to its own people. It has screwed its own people. Created wars for young men to go and die for sweet FA, just to make some corporation or some corporocracy rich or some banker rich at the blood of their own people. This system is unbelievably F-tarded, but they've sold this system on the merit of being patriotic, on the merit of freedom, on the merit of whatever. It's all bullshit, all of it. The American people, on the other hand, I really like a lot of the American people because a lot of them don't know really what's going on, and they have believed wholeheartedly in the ideology of freedom. All of us believe in that ideology. All of us believe in that. Anybody who's got a half a brain believes in the ideology of freedom. Everybody. Europeans, Canadians, Americans, Australians, New Zealanders, we all believe in the ideology of freedom. Unfortunately, none of us ever had freedom. What we had was shopping. We had effing shopping. You can go to this store, this store, this store. You can buy this shit, that shit, or this shit, or whatever shit. This is what we had. And we interpreted going shopping as freedom. We don't have freedom. We don't have, and the ideal of freedom is a great idea, but we don't have it. We never had it. Let me ask you this question. If anybody still thinks that you're living in a free country, and I don't give a shit where you live, Canada, Australia, New Zealand, United States, South America, North America, Europe, Africa, Asia, wherever. If we're so effing free, how come we can't say nothing against this phony baloney virus that they're propagating? You know why we can't say nothing about it? Because it's coming from China. The dictates and the mandates, all the effing mandates are coming from China. All of them. Today, Indiana says that if people are not wearing their masks, they're going to charge them with a misdemeanor and throw them in jail for 6 months. Like, what is that? Talk about a free country. The pandemic is as much bullshit as it can be. And then they're going to use the PCR method for treating and testing for COVID. What a load of bullshit. The PCR actually has to have the original genetic material for it to do a comparison on. And the guy that invented the PCR test said they shouldn't be using this on testing for this virus because they don't have a sample and it doesn't work. It just doesn't work. But they got to put on this effing illusion. It's an effing illusion. And I'm being very polite in what I'm saying that. Trust me, I could be very more clear on the terminology. So, but I'm being polite. It's an effing illusion, all of it. The whole bloody thing is an illusion, and it's designed to switch us all over to communist control. That's what this is all about. This is all this bullshit is coming from China, all of it. Our presidents and prime ministers and parliaments are all being dictated by China. They're all being paid by Bill Gates. Why are you wearing a mask in your city? Why is Indiana passing such a ridiculous set of regulations that violate everybody's personal human rights? You know, you don't have a choice. F that. F them. They should be removed. They should be hung. They should be tried for treason. All of them. This is a violation of our human rights. But in China, you don't have human rights. You've got no rights. The government says this and the government says that, and that's how it rolls. There's no democracy. There's no challenge. There's nothing. And as you can see in Canada, we are losing our rights left, right, and center. The premiers are writing laws at a whim. They're writing whatever the bloody hell they want and making it law just by writing it down. Where is our democracy? Where is our democracy? Ever think about that? Where is that? So when I say, where is our democracy? We don't have any. George Carlin talked about this when he was alive, and he made a comment saying, you got no rights. He basically said, you got no rights, and they got you by the balls. The real owners of this country have got you by the balls. And you know what? He was absolutely correct. We don't have any rights here. Look what happened in America and Canada. You couldn't even go to church. If you were a believer, you were denied going to church. Isn't that what communist China does? Isn't that what communist China does? It denies people the access to going to church if they want to. They can shut down the church. Doesn't China control the ideologies or the theologies or whatever it is, or the teachings of Christianity in China? That's going to happen here in Canada and the United States. It's already happened. The Christianity has been infiltrated. I don't care what you believe in this country. I don't care if you're a Baptist, Pentecostal, Jehovah, Catholic, Protestant, born again, whatever. It's all been infiltrated. Either the Zionists have infiltrated or the Jesuits. It's all bullshit, all of it. That's why when I tell you to read the Gospels and to read what Jesus had to say, I'm telling you to read what he had to say, and not these bullshitters and their bullshit teachings and their bullshit philosophies and their bullshit ideologies. They're all bullshit, and they have convoluted, and they have what do you call that? Weakened the power of the Almighty, weakened the power of the Word of God, literally, with their bullshit. And I'm not going to hold back on this at all. This is outrageous that in the country, United States and Canada, where freedom to worship, if you are anything but a believer in Jesus, you can go to your temples, you can go to your synagogues, but heaven forbid if you can go to a church. They may have opened them up, but heaven forbid. Like I said, I'm not a church goer to begin with. I don't really care. But there's a lot of believers that do go to church and they do pray. And they're being denied. So what is with that, with a country that propagates freedom? Bullshit. You've got no freedom. You go to a job, you work your ass off, and the governments are taxing you illegally in both Canada and the United States. Aaron Russo, in his recording, in his video on America Freedom to Fascism, made that comment that the taxes in America are totally illegal, and same in Canada. And they gave us this bullshit, well, we're collecting taxes for the war effort. What war are we fighting now that we're still having to pay taxes on? The taxes for the Second World War have been paid over like 5 or 6 times. And in fact, in both countries, no new taxes were allowed. Yet we have cigarette taxes, booze taxes, gas taxes, road taxes, house taxes, millage taxes, school taxes, taxes on being born, taxes when you die, fishing licenses, driver's licenses, license plates, all taxes, food tax. So much for freedom. And this whole COVID bullshit is about taking away your freedom. And it's also about turning people against people that still believe in freedom. If you wear a mask, you are part of the clique. If you don't wear a mask, the clique then comes after you and says, how come you're not wearing a mask? And at that point, you politely ask them, is your mask working for you? Is your mask working? Now, if they say yes, then you can tell them to mind their own business, or FRO, whichever works for you, and not be complicit to their bullshit. We are in this game now, and the more I saw it tonight, when Ike was talking, I finally was able to connect the dots. I was trying to think, how in the bloody hell were they able to get away with what they're doing in Canada and the United States with this crap? They want to keep you masked and tethered for the next 2 years. You know why? Because it takes that long for you to switch your indoctrination. They will have you totally indoctrinated in the next 2 years. This is never going back to normal as long as everybody keeps on being complicit. This bullshit will eventually shift the paradigm in the United States, Canada, Australia, and New Zealand, and the rest of the Commonwealth, and Europe, if they haven't already switched, into this new fascism that's coming on the planet. and it'll all be controlled by China. It's already being implemented by China. People don't realize that when they created all these factories and created all this wealth in China, that China was going to use that wealth, which was planned for them to use, in order to create the fascist system that we're heading into, all controlled by China. Don't hate the Chinese. This is not the Chinese. Let me put it this way: the Chinese government doesn't give a flying flamingo, doesn't give a shit about the Chinese people. They don't care. They don't give a shit. I couldn't figure out why the Chinese were so complicit so easily. Now I get it. They have been brainwashed for so long in just obeying the government, because if they didn't obey the government, they would get wiped out. And guess what's happening now? You're being forced to do this. This is the thing I heard today. I was livid when I heard this. Two guys made a study in some sort of journal, American journal, whatever, and they want to take all the elderly. You better pay attention to this. If you've got a mom and dad still sitting at home, they want to take your mom and your dad and put them in a FEMA camp. An isolation center, they're calling it. A very polite way of saying FEMA camp. So that when they get them into those FEMA camps, guess what? They will wipe them out. They have to wipe out all historical references to the concept of freedoms and democracies, the concepts of believing in the living God, the concept of worshiping God in a church, the concept of having the capacity to have families, and that you have a say in government. That's all going to be wiped away. All of it. Like I said, after seeing that, it finally it all made sense to me. Our premiers in this country in Canada should all be arrested and tried, all of them, but they won't get touched. Bill Gates has been having meetings with the mayors of all the cities throughout Canada. Now Hamilton is passing some sort of bullshit rules with masks. I just got a call a couple of days ago. And everywhere we go in this country, Bill Gates is running the country. I am so effing tired of Bill Gates running our country, aren't you? Aren't you tired of an alien running our country? We better start looking at it from this perspective. He's not an American running the country. He's an alien. He's an entity all to himself. He's got no authority, no experience, no education in the field of medicine. Zero. Yet he's influencing our city mayors, our premiers, our prime ministers, our parliamentarians with this masking bullshit. This masking is going to make them a shitload of money. It already has if you look in the stock market. But this masking is also going to be turning people into communists or fascists. This is what this is all about. This is leading people into this fear factor. So they got some people so afraid, like I told you about the truck driver who went down to the United States, come back and started crying. Oh man, those Americans, yeah, they're not wearing the mask. Oh. That F-tard will be the first one that'll be communistic. He's got no balls and he's got no brains. That's how it is, and that's the way it rolls. He can't. He looks around, doesn't see anybody falling down dead. And you know what? I made the same comment. I've been saying it for the longest time. When you go outside in Canada or America, Canada, oh Canada, and when you go outside and you don't see people wearing a mask, has anybody dropped dead? See, they can't pass these laws legally about you wearing a mask at all. These are mandates, number one. They can't pass these laws on any levels for any kind of law enforcement to have any kind of official act to be able to pass, unless we've lost the rights of proper representation. And all of a sudden now, our lawyers in Canada have been neutered. All of them. If they got a set of breasts or a set of balls, they've been cut off and neutered. You won't find too many of them that'll stand up to this anymore. Why is that? Maybe they got a kickback. Maybe they got a stock option on the mask and on the hand condoms or on the sanitizers. Look around. This is not going to go to a good place. I got to tell you. You know, in Canada, See, the only reason why America and Canada hasn't switched over immediately to a communistic or fascistic regime is because of guns. Americans have guns. In America, I'm going to keep on encouraging you, buy a bazooka, buy a tank, buy as many guns as you can because you're going to need them. And in Canada, I'm going to tell you to do the same thing. I'm thinking about buying a handgun. You know, I know how to shoot rifles, but a handgun, I think that's the next thing I'm going to go for, because the way I'm seeing it, seems like if you got a deterrent, people leave you alone. And the only reason why fascism hasn't taken over the United States and Canada is because people have guns. In Canada, for an FYI for Canadians, we have more illegal guns in this country than the United States does per capita. And that's why the government hasn't moved in, because they don't know who's got what. And you know what? It's good to keep them in a state of suspense. Because if they come knocking on the door, somebody, I'm sure, is going to have a discussion with whoever's knocking on the door. And if they come in and try to say, hey, we need you to wear, and they all of a sudden gunfire goes off, say la vie. Police officers should not be upholding a mandate, number one. There was a situation in Minden, Ontario, where a guy went home and his guns were locked up. Too bad he didn't have one on him. The police took him out. I'm not saying this because I have a disregard for the police. I have a disregard for this bullshit that these police are sustaining. Where is the law enforcement to protect people who aren't breaking the law? Okay, and I'm saying this because, okay, based on that conversation I had with the millennial, we're between a hard place and a rock. You stay here, you're going to get tagged and be chipped with the mark of the beast. That's what this whole COVID bullshit is. This is about tagging everybody like they did in China. See, the Chinese can go into any little shop and buy shit because they don't need money anymore, because they just do a facial recognition program. They're reading the chip inside of them. Guess what? We're next. It's coming. And you know why it's coming? Because in Canada, we have been neutered. We have had our balls cut off in this country. That's what's happened in this country. I had a buddy of mine saying, when you come to Canada, you just basically lose your balls. He says, oh, really? He says, yeah. He says, you get neutered here. That's what's happened in Canada. We've been neutered. Walk around, our balls are floating around somewhere because they're not attached to us anymore. That's what they've done. That's what they've done. And so as a result, they'll come in with they're already here doing it. See, if everybody had a set of balls, we'd all said no. Some of us have said no. I have said no. But so many have said yes. Because you believe in fairy tales. You still believe in a tooth fairy. That if you lose your tooth and stick it under your pillow, that the tooth fairy is going to come along and give you a 25-cent piece. Oh, the tooth fairy. This tooth fairy that's coming is not only going to chip you, it's going to control the way you think, how you think, and you'll be thinking in a fascist manner. The concept of equality ain't going to matter. Concept of wealth, that ain't going to matter. All these politicians are running around thinking that they're going to have a power base in this New World Order. A lot of them are going to get wiped out. I assure you, a lot of parliamentarians, a lot of the congressmen, a lot of the senators, a lot of them are going to get wiped out. Boom, clean, gone. They'll use them, and when they get done with them, they're the first ones they're going to get rid of. Always has been the case, always will be. When we're looking at, like I said, what's happening, and you start scrutinizing, how come they're passing illegal mandates? How come they're passing illegal laws? How come they're passing... See, this is a ruthless form of torture. And again, this was initiated by the WHO, by the United Nations, and by China. China is initiating this torture method. When you can't go to a grocery store... I had a guy talk to me from Hamilton. If he didn't wear a mask, he couldn't go into this grocery store. So we have the Human Rights Commission, take him to the Human Rights. And avoid the store. Boycott the bastards. Let him go broke. Who cares? And I tell you all to do the same thing. If someone's not going to honor the exemption forms, boycott them. Heck with them. Let them go broke. Tell everybody you know that's with the exemptions not to shop there. If you've got people and relatives and friends and they're still caught up in this illusion, they are foobarred. End of story. The guy would say, well, I'm worried about my mom and my dad. Listen, all you can do is this. I was talking to somebody earlier today about this. You can't convert nobody. Don't even try. Conversion comes from God, number one. If you're trying to convert a soul to the Savior, it's God that wins them over. Because there's a spiritual battle going on for that person's soul. All you can do is present the message. He who has eyes to see, let them see. Who has ears to hear, let them hear. Let them have the opportunity. But in the end, they have to make the choice. If you force somebody through a conversion process to accept whatever it is you're saying to them, and they're not forced, but they feel compelled to accept, if something goes wrong, they will blame you. If they feel compelled to accept because they choose to, then they will weather the storm. One way or another, they'll either believe or they won't. That's it. Nobody can force anybody to do anything in that regard. That's why I say, go read the Gospels. Don't let anybody influence you. Go read the Gospels. Go read what Jesus had to say. I always say you read every other book out there. You read porn. You read science magazines, Time magazines, McLean magazines. You read all those Gabby magazines. You read newspapers, gossip sections, gossip papers. You read all kinds of books, novels, fairy tales, mysteries, sci-fi. Take a chance. You might find it interesting. You may not. You may not. But I will say this. You owe it to yourself to read it. And don't let anybody bullshit you one way or another. Read it. Read what Jesus had to say. That's the bottom line. Because then when you hear what he had to say and you read what he had to say, then when you listen to these bozos on television, you'll know that these guys are nothing but con men getting your money so that they can use that money to buy guns and buy drugs and buy whatever they need to further perpetrate this fascist world. They live in mansions. Eventually, they'll be in prison camps. That's the way it goes. That's how it goes, and that's what will happen. That's what it's always been. Every time there's been some sort of fascist takeover, those that helped the fascist people get into power wound up getting eliminated. We need to realize that we're no longer living in this realm of ethical, moral, or spiritual elements. We're not there anymore. We are in this shithole. This is a shithole. And the moment you start thinking of this term as a shithole, that's when you're going to start to think about leaving whatever you have to leave in order to go to the place where you can live. Back to the millennials. Always remember this. Doesn't matter what you do in this life. Don't care what it is. The only thing that's guaranteed in this life is one day it will end. And you'll stand before your Creator. That's the only guarantee that you have in this life. You can try whatever you want to try. You can do whatever you want to do. You can be whatever you want to be. But in the end, it all comes out in a wash. Either you've made it or you haven't. Either you will or you won't. But you'll never know until you give it a go. That's the way it rolls. Nobody knows anything until they give it a go. I didn't know anything about EMPs and pulses and buckets and frequencies and all these things. I had friends of mine like Brian and other people that were showing me different things, so I get caught up on some of this stuff. And then when I did get caught up, I started exceeding in certain areas that I was looking at, again, to reduce this nano, to get this shit out of us so that it won't screw up our DNA anymore. And I wouldn't have known it would have worked at all if I didn't at least give it a go. You might even surprise yourselves. You might even surprise yourselves at what you can achieve. Jesus said himself, if you have faith of a mustard seed, you'll say to this mountain, be thou removed, be thou cast into the sea. And if you not doubt, it will be done for you. Faith is the first step. You got to believe. Okay, even if you don't have a big belief, a little belief is all it takes, and work. Because then as you start succeeding in whatever it is you're endeavoring to do, it'll reinforce your confidence and reinforce whatever. And eventually you will see yourself achieve things. And then when you do have that achievement, you'll think, wow, I actually did this. I actually accomplished this. I'm not saying it's going to be easy either. If all you've ever known is the system and the bullshit that the system has programmed you with, you got an uphill battle. You got to first break the programming, which takes time, and then at the same time you got to sustain your belief or your faith in whatever objective you're trying to reach. And third, you got to work at that objective. Nothing is going to come to you unless you go to it. It's the way life works. It'll meet you halfway. You go to it, it comes to you. If you sit on your ass, nothing happens. That's the way it rolls. That's how it rolls. That's how it goes. We are no longer, like I said, living in this hunky-dory, hunky-punky, chunky kind of, world. We're living in a world where, our federal government is trying to kill us. I got here, old Canada. Feds are trying to kill us here as well. Assassination by mass. Why is your government trying to kill you with these masks? They're toxic as hell. And the concept of all these tests is they're all fake. The new F word should be fake. When you start talking about COVID, the word fake should be coming, fake right off. What the fake? Fake, fake, fake. Oh, fake you. Fake it. Oh, what the fake? It's all fake. All untrue. All a lie. The concepts of mutations of wearing a mask. I mean, we are, like I said, this one's going to be funny. That's a joke, more or less. It's a picture. But when you see it, you'll get the gist of what I'm talking about. China and its mandates are affecting the world, and we have to give China the boot. Stay in China. Made in China, stay in China. The only way this is really going to stop with China giving everybody the boot is we quit buying shit made in China. Quit buying it. That's all I can tell you. Sometimes I know it's hard because everything's made there now. And they've got it so that it's a monopoly. Everything is being made in China. We got to wait now till India gets on board. Propaganda machine about the mask, how they're using celebrities to sell the idea of the mask. The bullshit is so thick. The bullshit is so thick. As I stated before, start prepping. Buy cans of potato, cans of beets, cans of carrots. Leave the corn alone, leave the peas alone. That shit is all genetic. Start buying canned tuna, salt water and fish. Buy corned beef. Buy mutton in a can. Start stocking up. By October, I'm figuring, or November, we're going to see a major food shortage. Be prepared. Be prepared. Be prepared. Stockpile, stockpile, stockpile. Best thing I can tell you. Stockpile. And if you've got to move, bring it with you. You're going to need it anyway. It's important that you start. You got to start from somewhere. You've got to start from somewhere. You can't just say, well, I don't know shit, so I'm going to die. Yeah, that's true. If you don't start learning, you are going to die. If you don't start using what you know or start using what you're learning, yes, you will die. As I said earlier, I'll repeat, the only thing that's guaranteed in this life is that one day we will die and stand before our Maker. That's the only guarantee we have. So till we get to that point, we are here. Let's make the most of it. That's the best thing I could tell you. In regarding to this, if you look like I was explaining about the Vietnamese. The Vietnamese people are basically a symbol of courage. See, back in the early 1900s, the Chinese invaded Vietnam, and Vietnam told China, FRO, FRO, fake right off. You can fake right off. I'm using the F word, fake right off. And for about 50 years, the Chinese tried to do something with the Vietnamese, but the Vietnamese kept saying, you can fake right off. So then the Americans and the Chinese hired the French to go in there. And for 30 years, the French were in Vietnam. And the Vietnamese told the French, you too can fake right off. And America and China paid America to go and deal with Vietnam. And America, when they're thinking, well, we got the sophisticated hardware, the sophisticated technology, we got the #1 army in the world. And the Vietnamese kicked the shit out of America as well and told them to fake right off. See, they didn't go in there to fight the war. They went in there to police the country. The country didn't need policing. They needed everybody to get the hell out so they could run their own country. And the Vietnamese had withstood overwhelming odds. 3 of the superpowers in the Assembly in the United Nations tried to take out Vietnam, and they couldn't do it. Couldn't do it. That tells you that China is not infallible. The United States is not infallible. France is not infallible. Neither is the United Kingdom, neither is Russia or India or any other country. None of them are infallible. So remember that the next time you start thinking. I talked to a buddy of mine who left Vietnam during that time, and he told me that when the people of Vietnam got on the boats to take off toward America, Canada, the boats were so overloaded that the top of the boat, where the edge of the boat is, was touching the water, or just slightly over. And they knew that getting on that boat was a death sentence. They knew the boat was a death sentence. Okay? But they said it was better than no chance at all, and they took a chance. Some did die. Some became shark bait. Some lived. Some made it. That's just how it rolls. That's how it rolls. We are in the same position today that the Vietnamese were back in those days. We were being oppressed by superpowers from all over the world, and basically all we can do is stand our ground, either win the battles or lose them. That's it. No in between. We either go away and build communities and get prepared for a war with AI, war with robots, war with swarms, war with all kinds of different things. Which I think in some weird way I might find that enjoyable. I can't explain why. I think there's a part of me that just was, I could actually be able to vent on something that I could vent on and not have to apologize for. Maybe that sounds a little weird, but I just look at what they've done to this planet, what they've done in the last 6 years, and I'm telling you, it irks me to no end that these F-tards have destroyed this planet. It's just yuck. Just yuck. Don't put your faith in any government. I don't care what it is. They're all the same. Don't put your faith in the presidencies. Don't put your faith in the prime ministers. Start putting your faith in yourselves. Start associating with other people who are like-minded. Start, again, working in unison if you can. Okay? And work in a cooperation, not in a dictatorship. You might find that you'll get further, get more done. And if you use godly principles, you might be surprised where it will take you. That's the best advice I can give you. It's unfortunate. Well, what was it? Oh, in Florida. Yeah, that was the thing in Florida. Taking seniors and putting them in a home, an isolation camp. It's such, you can see what they're doing there. This is basically another form of assassination. This is about assassinating people. Control and assassination. Fear and assassination. This is how they're doing it. Oh, you can't go outside unless you wear a mask. Oh, if you're in a condominium, you got to wear a mask. If you don't, or we're going to take you and put you in an isolation camp. Bullshit. All of it. If they get a hold of your mom and dad and take them to an isolation camp, you might not see them again. That's the reality. We're copying communist China. See, the difference between us and communist China right now, if you look outside, people are not wearing a mask, nobody's dropping dead. You know why nobody's dropping dead? It's because the Chinese were first injected with something as a vaccination, and then they hit them with a 6G assault. I haven't changed my mind on that. I've heard all the 5G theories. It just doesn't fly. 6G would have done what happened there. It would have shut down the mitochondria in the heart, and they would have just dropped. Just dropped. So anyway, I'm going to leave it go at here, and I'm going to tell you like I normally tell you, go and support the guys on the channel, Aromac, Sherry at Three Hearts Church, Brian, Shai in Israel, myself. If you can't help financially, that's okay, that's cool. Help everybody by spreading their information. Be the best thing you could do. And as I always state, read your Gospels, read the Gospels, read the Gospels. Don't let anybody bullshit you. Don't let anybody try to teach you anything. Read the Gospels. If God wants you to know something or do something, your eyes will open accordingly. So wherever you're at, God will show you and lead you. He may get you somewhere, but make sure that when you read the Gospels, you read what Jesus has to say, you follow that to a T. Don't let anybody bullshit you with some sort of dogma or bullshit. Period. Period. And I always say this at the end of the shows: by the grace of God, we are still here. Remember that. Remember that. All right. Until the next segment. To your health. We'll see you then.